I don't know if it's like how you bring people together or what goes on in the rehearsal process in those meetings that just brings the most exceptional work to the stage that is so hard for us to stop talking about. I don't know
Oh,
what you
well,
do. I'm going to keep meeting with you so I could pick your brain and get the bits and pieces of what makes magic on stages that you are involved in.
I appreciate that so much. I attribute it to my collaborators. I consider myself a conduit for collaboration. And when you get a great group of people in the room on the creative side and on the acting side, I mean, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
And welcome back to the podcast, the Broad Street Review Podcast, Season 10. This has been a great season. Philadelphia, are you listening? Are you paying attention? Are you buying tickets? This season has been so amazing. I've seen so many shows, and there are so many conversations to have about the great work that's being done on our stages. And today we continue those conversations. We are going to Theater Horizon to talk about Ain't Misbehavin', the Fats Waller musical show, and it is directed by Amina Robinson, who is our guest in the studio today. Amina, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello. So happy to be here.
Amina, can you do no wrong? I feel like whatever has your name attached to it, we are in for a treat and you do not disappoint. I don't know if it's like how you bring people together or what goes on in the rehearsal process in those meetings that just brings the most exceptional work to the stage that is so hard for us to stop talking about. I don't know
Oh,
what you
well,
do. I'm going to keep meeting with you so I could pick your brain and get the bits and pieces of what makes magic on stages that you are involved in.
I appreciate that so much. I attribute it to my collaborators, you know. I consider myself a conduit for collaboration. And when you get a great group of people in the room on the creative side and on the acting side, I mean, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. And you give people space to do their thing.
It's actually it's kind of the conversation that's going on in all forms of creation when we're thinking about television and film. A lot of the TV shows that are breaking out and a lot of the films that are standing out are these pieces where the directors, the collaborators pushed for so much that made everybody nervous. And then the work comes and you're like, this is what everybody wanted. This is what we were trying to tell you. It just feels like the art will not be silenced right now, and the
Mm-hmm.
creativity that everyone brings into the space, is on full display.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We had fun with this one.
Yes. So tell me, what was your first introduction to Ain't Misbehavin'?
So interesting. So my first introduction was actually in grad school because we had to have voice lessons sometimes, and and they had Lindsay Smiling, believe it or not, Lindsay Smiling and our classmates. They had Lindsay Smiling sing "Your Feet's Too Big," and then they had me sing "Honeysuckle Rose" with one of my classmates, Lawrence Stallings, and I also had to sing "Keep It Out of Mischief Now," which became one of my audition songs back when I was in New York and auditioning for musical theater.
And so you get the call from Theater Horizon.
Yeah. So, after the whole grad school singing thing, Matt Decker calls me and he's like, "Hey, we'd love to get you back out to Horizon because I hadn't been out there since the Little Shop workshop or the Little
Mm.
Shop present concert. That's the word I'm looking for. I hadn't been out there since the concert. And so he said, "We want to get you back out at Horizon. We're thinking Ain't Misbehavin'." So I'm like, "Oh, that's great. Ain't Misbehavin'." I was like, I used to sing those songs in grad school. And then I listened to it and I was like, "Oh, okay, it's all right," but it didn't blow me away. To be honest, it didn't blow me away. And I was like, "Okay, but we're gonna do it." And I thought it would be a great opportunity for Eliana Pinkney to make her choreographic debut professionally.
Mm.
So I just got really excited about that and the people that I was gonna get a chance to work with on the show. By that first rehearsal, I got it. I was blown away. The moment they started, like, learning the music and singing the music, I was like, "That's why everybody loves this show." So it took getting into the room with the people, but,
Yeah,
for my excitement to really build,
right.
but yeah.
So you had to see your team begin before you could put it together, which I think is great because I think people who are listening to us and trying to figure out how they get started in this process might be thinking they have to do like a ton of heavy lifting before they get into a space. But when you're collaborating on bringing a piece together visually, audibly, through blocking and movement, like you do have to get everybody in the room first. Yeah.
Exactly. Our art is not created in a vacuum. We need
Mm-mm.
people. We need brilliant minds, brilliant creative minds, and lots of talented people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what did you so I know you pulled all these people together, but what did you see in the room or what excited you about bringing them in first? And then what did you see in the room that blew you away about those choices you made?
So bringing them in was interesting because when Matthew said "Ain't Misbehavin'," we started talking about auditions and when to have auditions, and I started thinking about the people that just needed to do the show. I've worked with a lot of Philly artists, and I thought about like the character of Nell, for example, and I was like, wow, what fire! Nell was so fiery, and I'm like, who's like really fiery and can just sing incredibly? Tierra Green, And I just sort of went down the list for each character, sort of like what is the thing that made the characters pop? Because
Mm,
this show heavily relies on the personality of the actors that are presenting it? So I just thought about it, and all of them were direct offer with the exception of one role, which is Curtis Harris. I saw him perform the leading player in Pippin,
mm.
and as soon as I saw that performance in Pippin, I was like, "Wow, he's perfect for this Andre role." But we brought him in to audition, and he ended up getting it. He ended up doing exactly what I thought he was gonna do. Yeah, yeah. So that was really great. So going into it, I knew that I was working with the people who fired me up and just seeing them get started, like I said, that first day of rehearsal, they opened their mouths, and I was like, "Yep, that's it. This was the group."
Yeah, I remember saying, "Is who is this actor playing Andre? So much energy and like snake-like in a
Yeah,
way, just has movement down, like in his bones." And you're
yeah,
just like, okay,
yeah,
keep an eye on this artist. Like they're
yeah.
gonna go far. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what is this rehearsal like? What's the rehearsal room like? Is the joint jumping in there too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Interestingly enough, this show was such a sleeper. Like, going in, I think everybody underestimated the difficulty of the material because, you listen to it on the recordings, you're like, "Oh, yeah, great, we'll sing these songs." Those harmonies are so difficult.
Yeah.
And it's so high energy. The music, the timing of it is so very important as well. So it was a lot more difficult than we all expected. So this rehearsal room was pretty focused, but still alive and energetic. I like to work in an alive, energetic space, something that is full with warm, cool vibes and love. So it was still a fun process, but it was a very demanding process. I would say the first like week and a half, 2 weeks, the cast was kinda like, "Oh, are we ever gonna get it?" Because we were combining long days of learning music and harmonies, and then we would come in and do long days of nothing but choreography, and, my main job at that point was to sit there and say, "Great, can this happen stage left?" So I had probably the easiest job in the room at that point.
Hmm.
But so it was a lot of really demanding work, but very fun work. I think that's the good thing about theater in general is that, no matter how hard it is to get some of these shows up sometimes, we still love what we do, and that
Yeah.
makes a difference.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I definitely noticed like if you're fortunate enough to be there opening night, we're just so elated that from start to finish, we saw a complete show. We're not even thinking about like how long you had to rehearse or how long this conversation has been going on to bring it to the stage. And often you'll talk to an artist who is relieved that it's open and you can kind of see it took a lot for us to get here on that. Do you think producers are giving enough time to really bring a musical to the stage now, or is there, like, this urgency that's pushing everyone to think a little differently about it?
I think the urgency is there, and I don't think that it's new. I think
Mm,
that there is a very fine line where our art meets the commercial world, and the need to make money and also the money that has to be spent. And right now in our landscape with artistic funding being cut and all of that kind of stuff, it makes it even more difficult. So I've always noticed that the amount of time it takes to put a musical up is not necessarily the amount of time we actually get to put the musical up. We're looking at like 9 days before a design run.
mm.
And typically, the notion is you don't have to have everything completely up and running in 9 days. I kind of take it on myself to say, well, the designers need to see something that is a bit more complete so that they can then do their work. So I kind of put the onus on myself to get the show up and running in 9 days, which means that I typically put up a skeleton of a show first so that the show is up and running. Even though it's not pretty, I believe in putting the ugly thing up first and then spending time to fix it later. So in 9 days I can get an ugly thing up.
Yeah, once it's in its place, now you're
Yeah,
just tweaking. Yeah.
exactly.
I think that's a
Exactly.
good thought process too because, we sorta encourage writers to do a brain dump, and then the
Mhm.
editing begins, but it's just getting there first, and if you're spending too much time trying to make each moment perfect,
Mhm.
then when you get there, you're gonna be tinkering even more, and you might just sorta undo what works.
Yeah, and you're time. When you think about the amount of time we have, 3 weeks to put a show up, really. 3 weeks before we have an audience. So you don't have time to worry about, something being perfect. I don't believe in perfection anyway. So
Yeah.
you don't have time to worry about that. You sort of get it up and then you work as you go to refine it and polish it up, make it
Mhm.
pretty.
Put those finishing touches on it.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the crew and all the visual and audible things that we get to experience in here. But first, let's set the scene. Let's talk about the scenic design.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, on scenic design. The scenic design is mind blowing. I came to Dahlia with the notion that I wanted it to take place sort of in a Harlem brownstone. I was really excited about the Harlem Renaissance being the time period that this takes place in. It was such a rebirth. Hello, the Renaissance for Black art and culture and Black thought. And so I was really excited about that. And I imagined like Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes and all these people sitting in a Harlem brownstone singing songs and partying. And I was like, that's so stimulating to me. It was more stimulating than just the traditional cabaret style presentation of the
Hmm.
show. And I figured we could get to a cabaret later. And I wanted it to be, but I didn't want it to just be a Harlem Brownstone. I wanted the potential for magic and the potential to move into something that felt more cabaret in some of the larger moments as the show progressed. Um, Dahlia came up with this wonderful combination with these string curtains and practical lighting instruments hanging chandeliers and sconces and things like she just really found a way to blend those two worlds. And then our lighting designer, Matthew Miller, came in and added like lights underneath of the trim to sort of amplify all of the heightened moments when it starts getting kind of special. The cityscape, the way that he like lit the cityscape, because Dahlia has the cutout of the city in the back there. With when and like there are all these little, you can't tell in the audience, but a little backstage magic. The back wall sparkles because they have all these little teeny tiny rhinestones on the back wall. So and so it's just that look like stars. It's just really cool the way that the scenic design came together, and then the way that lighting married itself to the scenic design. It was really interesting. Matthew Miller, our lighting designer, plays around with color so beautifully in the show. The colors are so gorgeous and really place us in the time period and in the feels of the show. So it's really great. Ariel Wang on costumes. I've worked with Ariel Wang quite a bit. Ariel is just outstanding. I like Ariel's ability to use color to tell a story, and then also her taste level is always so exquisite. She makes a show look expensive. I love Ariel. Ariel makes something look expensive. And then we had Christinino on sound. And sound was no small feat in this show because horizon space is really interesting depending on where you sit, the experience that you get sometimes with sound, the acoustics in that space, and then with the band being on stage in such a small space. So sound was no small feat, balancing all of that out and then also adding some texture to our world. In the beginning, I don't know if you noticed, but there's like a New York City, an old school New York City soundscape that plays when you walk into the theater. Yeah, it was just really beautifully done. All the elements came together so beautifully.
Yeah. I, as you're saying Harlem Brownstone, I'm thinking like, okay, are they mid-level? Are they top? What floor are they on? Because there should be chaos throughout the whole building. If they're jumping, they're probably like mid-level, and the people
Huh?
upstairs don't know what to do. The people downstairs don't know what to do. It's funny when there's like even in our own neighborhoods when you experience noise, not noise, but like there's music playing, right? There's a part of you that's like, turn that down, but then it's like, well, it is bumping.
Huh?
Let me I'll just listen.
Right, right,
But it
right.
really felt homely. It felt like we were all sitting in that parlor with them, and I love that whole feel. It felt so comfortable.
Great, because that was the intention to
Yeah.
hear. I kept telling the cast, I was like, "They're at the party too." I said, "We're all here. We've all gathered. They're
Hmm.
here." I wanted the audience to have the sense of like, "Oh, we're here with them," which
Yeah.
is great. Yeah.
And what were some of the responses that you had received from the audience, from theater
Uh,
goers?
theater goers, yeah. From everything that I could tell, people really enjoying it. They're impressed by the cast primarily. I think that when you see them and when you listen to the singing and you see all the dancing and the stamina that it takes to do that show, that alone is so impressive. And so audiences have been walking away like blown away, like, wow, that was amazing. And I can't believe that those actors did all of that. So there's that. I also the response that you had about feeling invited into the living room is also a response that I've been getting, which is really nice. Yeah, people really enjoy the scenic design and the lighting as well that I've seen in the costumes. Like people really enjoyed those design elements. I've just been hearing that's an all around good time. And it should be. So.
Yes. I think it's also great especially now as the nation is preparing to celebrate 250 years of interesting times, that that Black culture was so prevalent in so much of America's history. And I think it's so great that it's on stage right now. And what were some of the thoughts that you all had about where we are in this moment and how this piece speaks?
I think that right now where we are, there is a need for joy. There is a need particularly for Black joy.
Mm,
And I think that this show provides that. They're actually, not trying to get too super political, but there actually is a song in there called Black and Blue. And it was one of Fats Waller's songs that was written for a musical. And in the musical, the person singing the song is lamenting their Black skin
mm,
and wishing that they were a white person or a lighter skinned person for sure. One of the things that we talked about is this notion that we have this show that is such a celebration of his music and is so joyous. Where did this particular song come from?
mm.
Why
Yeah.
this song in this production? And why the importance to include this song in this production. And I mean, I personally think, especially after some research, that it was included in there because it was intended to be like some sort of heavy reflective moment on Blackness. However, within the context of my research, I don't even think Fats Waller was really in love with this song. It seems that this was a song that he was forced to write for this musical in the way, yeah, in the way that, sometimes we have to do what we have to do to navigate the world that we're in. And so the question became, at this time in America, at this time, are how do we feel about this song? How do we feel about the inclusion of this song in what otherwise is a celebration?
Mhm.
This joyous celebration. Why include this song? And then we landed at the notion that we were going to pull back from any sort of commentary on the song and that we were just going to sing the song. And it's set up that way, for better or for worse. I haven't heard anybody say that was a stupid choice, but for better or for worse, we just sort of sing the song. They finish one of the other songs, and then they sit there. Curtis and Regier look at one another, and then they're like, "Okay." And Regier goes up, gets to the piano because Regier also plays the piano, which is so exciting. Got Regier to do this. I was so hyped when Regier said yes. But anyway,
Yeah.
so Regier starts the song at the piano, and then the rest of the actors come out and they just sing the song. And it wasn't like that in the beginning. Like some parts during rehearsal, it was like very heavy. It was like I was asking them to consider their own blackness or something, But I was like, you know what? Let's do away with that because my guess, I mean, who am I really? But my guess from my research is that if Fats Waller were making a review of his music, he probably would not have included that song because of its reflection on Blackness, someone who otherwise was very outspoken about who he was.
Yeah.
Everything that I read about him, I couldn't imagine. And he didn't write the lyrics to the song. The person who wrote the lyrics to the song also, it was in question of the reasons why he had to write those lyrics. So yeah, so I think that the need for joy is necessary in these times, and we did have to make that decision in light of where we are right now. This isn't the time, I don't feel, to sing about how you don't want to be a black person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking about the rest of the Philadelphia theater season, and, we had Jelly's Last Jam. It was a
Mhm.
conversation about Jelly Roll Morton and Fats Waller were alive around the same time, died within a year or 2 of each other. Jelly Roll Morton had a little bit of a conflict of his own, had a struggle with his own blackness, and I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that's in at that moment to kinda speak to when we are amongst each other, it is black joy, it's a celebration, this is all we want. But then we get out into the rest of the world that makes us feel less than, and perhaps that song is speaking to that part of us that when we're in the world trying to express our joy, how there are these outward attacks on that to kind of knock us down off our cloud.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand that sentiment. It's just that listening to those lyrics,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
lyrics are something else.
I mean,
We
I
were
feel
like,
like
"What are these lyrics?"
there's so much in our canon that is questionable. We think about
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. But yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise it just feels like the whole thing is just complete joy, which why couldn't it have been just complete joy,
Yeah.
you know?
You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. The
Well,
the the lore is that he wrote that song under duress,
uh,
at gunpoint, under duress, that song
wow.
was created. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
At
That's the lore
gunpoint.
surrounding that song. So,
That seems very political. In order to do this, you have to put this in. No,
you know?
change this word to this word. Wait, I
Yeah.
see what you did there. Go back. I know, making light of it, but yeah, I could
Yeah.
imagine. All right, let's go back to the joy in the show. Let's
Yes.
talk about the crowd work moments. Those are a lot of fun. Sometimes it's like, I mean, okay. That's what song is that? It's about feet.
Feet's too big.
Feet's too big. Okay, feet's too big. Let's talk about it. How'd you even get through
Yeah.
rehearsal with that
Full
song?
of laughter, full of laughter. The funniest part is Regier is just free to do whatever he wants.
Mm.
any given night. Like there were a few things that settled in, like for example, or his stopping points are set. The one moment where he's talking about the feet being too big and popping up out the casket. I told him that I like when he does this sort of hands crossed thing. So he keeps that in every night. But aside from that, Regier is off script ad libbing every single performance. One of the funniest ones that I heard was there was a little kid sitting with his father on the front row. And Regier was talking about feet's too big to the little kid. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm talking to you, little man." Right?
Yes.
And then a few beats later, he says, "And your dad, too." He's so funny. I don't listen. I give it up to actors who can just ad lib,
Hmm.
and improv on the spot like that, depending on who's there. Them Bruce girls got a shout out one
Yes.
night,
We love them.
Yeah, yeah. So he makes
It's
it all up. I wish I could say it was set, but it's not. He just makes it up.
Yeah, and it's a testament to the confidence of the artist too, because sometimes the crowd work and when you pull the audience in, they may not be with you for that. But if they're already like having a great time, they just go along with it. It's like we're part of the
Mhm.
excitement of this show as well. And that song is like we're just, those are attacks, but we're all still trying to laugh at it. We're all still trying to love it, but it's just so it's like this song. I mean,
He's
we're getting through it.
he's ripping on everybody in the
Yes.
audience. He's ripping on, and I decided, like, I was like, if we're doing this, we're going to make it as ridiculous as possible, you know. So like that moment that I had in there, because we were rehearsing one day, and I said, and we were like trying to light him, and I said, you know what? Wait a minute, Matthew, can we just bring the house lights up entirely? I
Yeah.
was like, Regier, can you just say, turn the lights on, you know? I said, let's just make it as ridiculous as possible. A lot of these songs, though, contextually, a lot of these songs didn't age well.
Yeah.
The
I know.
lyrics, the
Yes.
lyrics.
Yes, we were thinking about that, saying like they're just talking about life, but they just making it rhyme and added added some notes to it because some of it sounded like instructional. Here's
Mhm,
what to do if you need this.
mhm,
But can you imagine like these songs by themselves? I'm gonna sing this. I'm gonna sing this song about your feet too big. If that's the only
right.
song that you have to present to this audience, I don't know if they're gonna love you on the other end
No,
unless
no.
unless they really lean into the humor of it.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. They also, I think one of the benefits for Regier is that I think the audience falls in love with him
I
very
was
early
just
on in
about to
Honeysuckle
say
Rose.
it's very easy to love Rajir, and so yeah, that
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
But that I also think that speaks to the intimacy of Theater Horizon space. You really
Oh,
do
yeah.
feel like you're a part of every production when you're in
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Their layout, it doesn't feel like there's dramatic height above us. So
Mhm.
it does feel like we're all just kind of huddled in as community, just taking
Yeah.
this whole experience in, and all of that adds to our overall satisfaction of the work at Theater Horizon, I
Oh
believe.
yeah, 100%. Their mission is really community oriented. So I
Hmm.
think their space is really, really supportive of their mission and their ideals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like a gathering place, that theater.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thinking about where it is in this space, what do you want the audience to walk away with from their experience of Ain't Misbehavin'?
I want the audience to walk away with a wonderful, joyous night at the theater and good feelings in their heart. This show is not one that I think people will walk away with and have a whole bunch of issue with, or,
Hmm.
it's not controversial. It's the celebration of Fats Waller's legacy and his music. And if people walk away saying, hey, that's some really great music, Fats Waller is amazing, what a great, entertaining show, I think that we've done our job well with Ain't Misbehavin', you know?
Hmm.
There was something I wanted to add to that too. I can't remember it right now.
Well, we'll have to find you in a theater lobby if you remember, and then you could tell us then.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Okay, everyone, if you're listening to this now, you probably still have time to get to Theater Horizon to see Ain't Misbehavin', the Fats Waller musical show. It is on stage through May 17th. If you are listening to this after May 17th, you should then go to Theater Horizon and tell them what great work they do. Make a donation, maybe. Subscribe to next season. Tell your friends about the great work that's happening in Norristown. It's a part of the Greater Philadelphia collection of wonderful conversations being had on stages. Amina Robinson, thank you so much. You are a treasure. It is so great to talk to you and unpack your work and celebrate your work and all the people that you bring together are stars. Just wonderful. And we look forward to seeing them on other stages as they progress in their careers. I just want to thank you for being a part of our community. And there are just so many pieces of work that you're attached to that just hold special place in my heart. And I feel like so many of theater goers in our community can say the same thing. So thank you so much for what you do
Oh,
here in the community for us. It's very appreciated.
thank you so much, Darnell. I appreciate the work that you do as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And so everybody get out there to see Ain't Misbehavin. Support Theater Horizon. You can go to Theater Horizon. That's theater spelled RE, horizon.org. Find out about their great work or tell everyone you know about the great work you already know that they do. There is some magic happening in Norristown and you still have time to get there. So Amina Robinson, thank you for chatting with me today. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you.